The night after Uncle Chike vanished, the house was silent. Not the comforting kind of silence, but a kind that crept into your bones and whispered that something was wrong. My father sat in the corner, staring at the floor, his jaw tight. The elders had left hours ago after delivering their grim verdict. Chike was gone, and we had to leave it at that. But I couldn't. I lay awake in my small corner of the room, staring at the ceiling. The sound of the river filled my ears even though it was far away. It wasn't loud, but it was persistent, like it wanted me to listen. My mind raced with questions. Why had the river taken Chike? What had he done to anger it? By midnight, I couldn't take it anymore. I slipped out of bed, careful not to wake my father. The lantern in the room flickered weakly, casting eerie shadows in the mud walls. I grabbed the small flashlight we kept by the door and crept outside. The night was cold, the air damp with the smell of the river. I shivered as I made my way down the familiar path, the same one I had taken the night before. The bushes rustled around me, but I didn't stop. My feet moved faster than my thoughts, my heart pounding so loud it felt like the whole world could hear it. As I neared the riverbank, I froze. The air felt heavier here, thick with something I couldn't name. The water was darker than I remembered, almost black, and it moved faster than it should have. The usual calm ripples were gone, replaced by waves that crashed against the banks as if the river was angry. "Chike," I whispered, my voice trembling. No answer, just the sound of the water, relentless and unforgiving. I stepped closer, shining my flashlight over the surface. The beam of light flickered as it caught the reflection of something moving under the water. My breath hitched. At first, I thought it was a fish. But then it happened again. A shadow darting just below the surface, too fast and too large to be anything natural. And then I saw it. A face. It was there for less than a second, pale and distorted, staring up at me from beneath the water. My heart stopped. I stumbled back, my flashlight shaking in my hand. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The face disappeared, and the river grew still. But the silence didn't last. A voice, low and guttural, echoed around me. "Leave, or you will join him." I couldn't tell where it was coming from. It seemed to come from everywhere. The water, the trees, the ground beneath my feet. My legs felt like they were made of stone, but I forced myself to move. I turned and ran, the flashlight swinging wildly as I tore through the narrow path back to the house. When I burst through the door, my father was waiting. His eyes were bloodshot, and his hands were shaking. "Where did you go?" he demanded, his voice breaking. I couldn't speak. I just stood there, gasping for air, the flashlight still clenched in my hand. "You went to the river, didn't you?" he asked, his voice rising. I nodded. He grabbed my shoulders and shook me. "Do you want to end up like Chike? That river is not for us. It is not for anyone. Do you hear me? I nodded again, tears streaming down my face. But deep down, I knew I couldn't let it go. The river had taken Chike, and now it was warning me. But why? The next morning, the village was buzzing. Another person had gone missing. A young boy who had wandered too close to the river. The elders gathered in the square, speaking in hushed tones. They warned everyone to stay away, but their faces betrayed their fear. They didn't have control over the river. My father forbade me from leaving the house, but that didn't stop the whispers from reaching me. Stories of people who had vanished over the years, of strange sounds at night, of shadows in the water that didn't belong to fish. That evening, I made a decision. I couldn't let the river keep taking people. I didn't know what I could do, but I had to try. I waited until nightfall, then slipped out of the house again. This time, I carried a small offering, pieces of yam, kola nuts, and a bottle of palm wine. I didn't know if it would work, but the old stories said the river spirits would sometimes be appeased with gifts. The path to the river felt even darker than before. The air was heavy, and the sound of the water was louder, more menacing. When I reached the bank, I knelt down and placed the offering at the edge. "Please," I whispered, "take this and leave us alone." The river didn't respond. It just kept moving, its dark surface reflecting the faint light of the moon. I waited, my hands trembling, but nothing happened. Just as I was about to turn away, the water rippled. A shadow rose from the depths, each shape shifting and twisting until it took the form of a man. My heart stopped. It looked like Chike, but his face was wrong. Pale and lifeless, his eyes sunken and hollow. "You shouldn't come here," the figure said, its voice echoing like the river itself. I couldn't move. My legs felt rooted to the ground. "Why are you doing this?" I managed to whisper. The figure tilted its head as if confused by my question. "The river hungers," it simply said. "It always hungers." Before I could say anything else, the figure dissolved back into the water and the river grew still. I ran back to the house, my mind racing. The river wasn't just a force of nature, it was alive, and it demanded sacrifices. The elders had been right. You couldn't fight it, but how could we live with it? The next day, the village elders performed a ritual by the river, hoping to appease its hunger. They chanted and prayed, their voices trembling with fear. But deep down, we all knew it wouldn't be enough. The river wasn't something that could be tamed. It was alive, it didn't sleep, and it would always hunger. That was the last time I went near Odo Ezi, but the sound of the river stayed with me, a constant reminder of the lives it had taken and the ones it would take in the future.